Superthrive, the good, the bad, and the ugly, or just the plain old thriving beauty of your orchids. Today we're going to be looking into Superthrive. Welcome to the Nature Company. Today, Superthrive is the topic of conversation, and we're going to be looking into the pros, the cons, how to use it, how not to use it. We'll be looking at this from every angle, and this is not a paid promotion, so I'm going to give you my honest opinion on the product. If this is the kind of information you're interested, please hit that subscribe button down below if you haven't already, and that notification bell to be notified of all our upcoming content so you don't miss out on a thing. So a lot of people have heard about Superthrive and are wondering whether it's going to be good for them. A lot of people are saying, but I can't even get it in my country. Am I really missing out? So let's have a look into Superthrive, what it contains, what it doesn't contain, and how the ingredients in it are going to affect your orchid, and whether possibly there's other ways of going about and getting better results than using Superthrive, or whether Superthrive is the golden bullet. So let's have a look at the ingredients in Superthrive. Well, what we can find out is there is 0.5% nitrogen, it's 0.4% which is soluble, and 0.1% insoluble nitrogen. We also have 0.09% vitamin B, thiamine hydrochloride, which is just the one that we're looking for. Also, it has a small percentage of isopropyl alcohol and some glacial acetic acid, and the majority of it is proprietary information, and we have no idea what the rest of the ingredients are. But if it does suggest there's kelp extract in it, by the smell of it, perhaps you can say that is correct. But all these other quantities of ingredients, etc., we have no idea what they are or what they're going to do to our plants. That doesn't mean they're not going to work. So what does this list of ingredients mean? Well, for one, it shows that Superthrive is not a plant food. It's not a fertilizer, it's just a plant tonic. So you can't use it to actually just feed your orchids. You add it to your feed just as a tonic to help your plant to either recover from stressful situations or keep it growing in tip-top form. So let's just make that clear again. Superthrive is not a fertilizer. I'm pretty sure they actually even advertise it themselves, saying that it's a tonic for your plant and not a fertilizer. They do have 0.5.0.0, so I'm presuming that's the NPK values that they're trying to hint at. So there again, it's showing you that it's not a fertilizer, it's just a tonic. And we all know now that vitamin B1 is a wonderful ingredient to add to our plants, especially when they're under stress. But is it in the right quantities? If we're using the recommended dosage, which is a 1/4 teaspoon in about a gallon of water, which is about 6 to 7 drops in a gallon, which is approximately 1 to 2 drops in a liter of water, we can see the dilution ratio is very small. So for one, your bottle is going to go a long way, it's going to last you a long time, so it is actually quite good value for money. But are we getting enough of that vitamin B? With that sort of dilution ratio, you're going to be getting approximately 0.3 or just under milliliters per liter of water of vitamin B1. Invariably in stressed orchids, we're really looking at about 2 milliliters per liter to get the maximum results. But remember, if you're using that 2 milliliters per liter, you're only using it for a very short period, possibly only 2 or 3 applications. So with Superthrive having such a low vitamin B concentration, can we up the dosage all the way up to that 2 milliliter vitamin B value? No, you can't, because of all those other ingredients that are going to affect your orchid badly. There's kelp extract, which has root hormones or auxins in it that can then badly affect your orchid. So it's going to cause an imbalance in your hormone profile in your plant, and you're going to get all sorts of deformities. You often land up with almost plasticky, deformed growths. But so Superthrive, please stick to the mixing instructions as supplied by the supplier, because it can negatively affect your plant. So you don't want to take one ingredient in the list and say that's what I'm looking for, and multiply that up to get the concentration of that ingredient that you're looking for. You've got to remember these products have other ingredients in them as well that are also going to affect your plant. And as they suggest with Superthrive, it's not there for purely rectifying stressful situations in your plant. It's actually there as a tonic for long-term use. So you're going to be using it every watering or every second watering, sort of. They suggest you can even use it daily or weekly to help keep your orchid in tip-top shape. But without us really knowing what sort of ingredients are in this proprietary mix, we can't say everything that our plant is going to be getting. It would be nice if they would actually give us an idea of the percentages of other nutrients or micronutrients that are supplied by this product, so that we know how good it is actually going to be for our orchids. But yes, with that small amount of vitamin B constantly, you are supplying the plant with something that is going to help with disease resistance, pest resistance, with root growth, with vegetative growth, with ATP production, and the use of it around the orchid itself. So that's all going to be beneficial. But if we knew better what was in the rest of the product, we'd know what else to add or remove from our feeding, so we don't overcompensate in other areas. If there are micronutrients available in Superthrive, we'd like to know what they are, so that we don't overcompensate by using other additives that may then cause toxic level buildups of that specific nutrient in the media. Also, Superthrive was invented or patented in the 1940s, and although there has been some changes to the formulation since then, like in 2020 they had to remove the NAA, which is the naphthyl acetic acid, the 1-naphthyl acetic acid, which is a synthetic plant hormone, which I believe in California or something, they'd changed the regulations. So they had to remove it from the formulation so that it can be sold nationally in the US. And it does appear since then the other components of Superthrive are all natural compounds. And they do seem to still contain auxins, but in the form of indole-3 butyric acid. This is also a rooting hormone, an auxin, that is often found in kelp itself. And there does seem to be humic acids and fulvic acids in the formulation too, which are also going to be good for your orchid. But all of this is unclear because it hasn't been scientifically proven. In fact, there have been no scientific trials done on this product whatsoever. I think that has got mainly to do with the fact that the actual ingredients are proprietary, and the company itself hasn't done the scientific studies to put them out to everyone. So there's no real reason for anyone else to do the scientific research on this product. But the anecdotal report from a lot of the home growers say that it works a dream. But remember, we are talking about orchids here, not necessarily just your pot plants at home. And originally Superthrive wasn't specifically formulated for orchids itself, but rather for plants in general. So orchids with a slightly different need for different minerals and nutrients might not react the same way to Superthrive that perhaps your houseplants may. But still, a lot of people using Superthrive on their orchids say they're getting amazing results. And that's not to disband that whatsoever, because with those nutrients in it, if you are keeping to the mixing instructions, you are still going to be benefiting your plant. But as I said, the formulation was done in 1940. There's been a lot of scientific advancement in plant and orchid specific metabolism. So there's probably a lot newer products out there available to us that are more suited specifically to our orchids. And a lot of those products now revolve around mycorrhizal fungi. But there comes a problem with this too. Not all mycorrhizal fungi are specifically suited to our orchids, although generally you will still get a lot of benefit from them, providing a reasonable or a good, well-suited rooting environment for your orchid, as opposed to those specific mycorrhizal fungi that will form a symbiotic relationship with your orchid. But we'll get into that in the next video. There are also newer products available with biostimulants and plant growth regulators that are derived directly from the plants themselves. So all of these perhaps could have a more beneficial effect than just adding a vitamin supplement like Superthrive. But that's not to say we shouldn't use Superthrive, because often using these biostimulants or these growth regulators, sometimes those vitamins are going to be necessary in the whole process. So using Superthrive with something like a Tonic might actually provide you with even better growing than you thought possible with just one or the other. Also, these newer products are going to be slightly more expensive, so Superthrive is a wonderful beginner's tool. All of those beginners who are looking for good results for their orchids but are unable to afford or keep up with complicated feeding regimes, including different regulators or stimulants at different times, just something like Superthrive is a good supplement to add to your regular feeding program, just to give your orchid the extra boost that it needs. And again, it's not only the growth boost, it's going to help produce more roots, it will give better vegetative growth, it will also help the plant's defense against pests and disease. So all of these still give a good case for using Superthrive. But do understand, it's not going to be that golden bullet. It's not going to cure everything. It's not going to make your plants miraculously evolve into beautiful flowering plants. The only way that you're going to get that is through proper care, through feeding, giving the right light and air movement requirements, with the right watering. All of this is what is going to be more important than just adding one supplement to your feeding regime. And if you're unsure of those mixing instructions or those quantities of available vitamin B in Superthrive, just check out that Buy Me a Coffee link down below. Ed's going to post all that information up there for you too. And if you want to understand more about the mycorrhizal fungi for your orchids, drop us a comment in the box below so that we can see how much interest there is in that. Oops, I nearly forgot. That glacial acetic acid there is basically just a concentrated form of vinegar. So it's vinegar without the water content. So that does give Superthrive a slightly acidic pH. But the amount that you are using in your water is really not going to affect the pH of your water at all. Or at least it shouldn't. Because I do know we all worry about the pH of our water to ensure that it's in the correct sort of range so that our orchids aren't struggling to absorb nutrients which are not available in very acidic or very alkaline waters. So between 5.5 is generally the best range to ensure that your orchids are able to absorb all those minerals and nutrients that they need. And if you are in an area in the world that is not able to get Superthrive, then don't worry. We'll drop a link to our vitamin B. We'll drop a link to our vitamin B video in the description box down below. And if you're using that, probably with a seaweed extract and maybe something like a Tonic, and this will provide you with much the same sort of results. But remember, if you're going to be using it regularly, you will have to drop that concentration of vitamin B right down to about 1 milligram or less per liter, especially if you want to use it constantly. And if the information we're providing you has been helpful in your orchid journey and you wanted to show appreciation, you can buy us a coffee in that Buy Me a Coffee link down below too. Also, there's a members only section, so don't be shy, sign up, become a member and grow like a pro. And thank you for watching. If you found any of this information helpful, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button down below and that notification bell, bing bong, to be notified of all our upcoming content so you don't miss out on a thing. Help us grow as we help your orchids grow.